Can you help? Can you help me? Can you help? Self-Helpless! Can you help? Can you help me? Can you help? Self-Helpless! Can you help? Can you help me? Can you help? Self-Helpless!
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Self-Helpless. I'm Kelsey Cook.
I'm Delaney Fisher.
And we are recording this remotely, of course, because we're still in quarantine, obviously. Taylor Tomlinson couldn't be with us today, but we are joined by an excellent guest. We are joined by business and life coach Kelsey Murphy, and she was such a badass.
Oh, she was so good. So many good nuggets of wisdom.
Yes.
She's worked with clients like Nintendo, Coca-Cola, Elizabeth Arden, GoPro, so many more. She is works very closely with Marie Forleo with B School, if anybody's heard about that before. And yeah, I loved talking with her. She answered a lot of questions that were very, pertinent to my business and experience as well. So it was really cool having her on the show.
Oh, yeah. Especially right now with everything that's going on. I think everybody's business, whatever they're doing, whether they own their own business or are employed by a business, everything's kind of up in the air. So she's a great guest to have on right now.
Yeah, no, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And then we just want to let you know, we're so excited to be able to give you guys 2 episodes a week right now on Mondays and Thursdays. And we're going to be doing this indefinitely while we're in quarantine because we have the time. We weren't able to do it before. So that's some silver lining. And, if you're wanting to binge more episodes, we have so many Patreon episodes now. So if you want extra episodes, and rewards and all kinds of interactions. You can vote on different topics for the show, submit quotables, all kinds of cool stuff. That's at patreon.com/selfhelpless. And then Kelsey, you have an announcement as well.
I do. I mentioned this in a recent episode that this was still happening and I was super excited, but just a reminder, my stand-up set is airing tomorrow night, April 7th, on A Little Late with Lily Singh on NBC. So if you have cable, if you have DVRs, all of that, make sure you either stay up and watch it or record it and watch it the next day. It'll also be on YouTube if you guys don't get NBC, but I'm really excited. I recorded it back in October and it's great that it's coming out now, especially during this time because I wasn't sure if it would still air. But yeah, make sure you tune into to NBC and watch it.
Yes, everybody, watch it. Tune in.
Yay.
Set your DVR. I'm so excited for that, and I have a little brief announcement too, just because it's time sensitive. I told you guys I'd be opening some kind of group program for people who are really looking to pivot right now with their business and stuff like that. And I just want to let you know that group is almost full, but I do have a few more spots left. So if you want one of those spots, just email DelaneyFisherAssistant@gmail.com and let my lovely assistant Abby know that you want to be put on that list. And then we'll be sending out that information very, very soon because we want to get started on that. So just a heads up there.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Without further ado, let's get into our interview with Kelsey Murphy and then we will do some segments afterward.
Yay. All right, you guys, like we mentioned, we are so excited for today's episode with our special guest. Give it up for business and life coach, Kelsey Murphy. What's up?
That is the best intro I've ever had.
Thanks for being here, Kelsey.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. So we talked about in the intro before this interview started that you've worked with clients like Nintendo, Coca-Cola, Elizabeth Arden, so many big brands. Do you still work with big brands like that? Or do you also mostly now focus on professional business coaching with individuals?
Yeah, it's funny. Now I work with who I think are like celebrities, like the Marie Forleos of the world. I work in the online business kind of that capacity. So I definitely still will go and speak at places a lot. So I'll speak at Facebook and Twitter, but a little bit more company oriented, big names. Not really so much with my Nintendo and Elizabeth Arden and GoPro crew, but they're so lovely and wonderful. I keep in touch with all of them.
That's awesome. Yeah, we actually just recorded an episode about Everything is Figureoutable, Marie Forleo's book, right before you got on this call. So
amazing.
I'm very familiar with Marie Forleo and B School and all that good stuff. And I actually made the switch over a year and a half ago. Now I was a stand-up comedian, and now I'm a full-time entrepreneur myself, and started a business and everything. So I got a lot of questions for you.
Yes, lay it on me, girl.
So excited to ask you. And I guess the first one, which I feel is probably the most pressing for a lot of people listening, is how has this quarantine life affected your business and the business of any clients you have or anything like that? What's going on right now?
Oh my goodness. It's such a good question. And I feel like let's get down to the brass tacks, right? How it's affected my business is very different from how it's affected my life because I am at home with a newborn and a toddler. Thank you.
A newborn and a toddler?
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we're really
my God.
Let me just tell you, I was on a podcast earlier this morning and I just heard screaming in the background and I came out. My husband just like looked at me and I'm like, I'll take over. It's we're in the trenches, and not in a horrible way. I feel like we're very lucky. It could be so much worse, and I'm very, very well aware of that. But it is such a shift from our day-to-day life, and especially the way that I run my business. Like, I always wanted a business where I could kind of work part-time hours, but still make a significant amount of money. So I wanted to figure out a way to kind of scale my business and still be home for my kiddos, right? So it's like, I don't work on Mondays and Fridays. Like, I stop working at like 3:00 on the other days, like, so I can just chill and be with them. And that was so important to me. And so when I am with them, I'm 100% with them. When I'm working, I'm 100% working, because on the flip side, I do need to be able to go have like a glass of wine at lunch with my girlfriends.
Yes.
Like, I need to have my like alone time and like my girl time and be able to have that other part of my life. It's so important. So I feel like now I don't have that separation where I'm like 100% focused on work and 100% focused on them. And I'm trying to, we're still in the midst of trying to figure out a schedule that allows us to do that, just because we want to be really present. And like, you kind of half-ass it if you're, like trying to do two things at once, and neither are fun, So figuring that out has been probably the most challenging thing for me from a personal standpoint. And we're just getting in the groove because, it's been like week 2 or 3 now. I feel like we were early adopters of the quarantine. So I feel like we're pushing week 3 here. And I think we're just recognizing that this is actually potentially a long-term thing that's going to happen. So knowing that, I think when you have these moving goalposts, it's really hard, because you're like, well, if this is just temporary, then we'll just make it work. But now recognizing that this may be a new way of life for the next couple weeks or couple months, we're now kind of devising this new schedule that allows us to thrive, that allows me to have that quiet time and, nurse my newborn instead of literally running around with her like on one boob and like trying to like pick up my toddler's toy, like frantically, like, so we're like figuring it out. And I think we're just about there, but that has been so challenging from a personal standpoint, like internally with my business, but externally with my business, man, things are looking really amazing and fantastic, because I help people to have these thriving businesses online, to develop something that they can do anywhere that they want. And the craving for that right now is kind of through the roof, like people are at home. They're getting a taste of this work from home life, although it's not as good as it could be because there's a lot of munchkins running around. But they really, I think people are really craving to do that. So like, I have a lot of stuff on a podcast, like Course and Mastermind, that I run, and people are just so pumped and excited and emailing me about it. And they're just like hungry for new ways to kind of develop content or create things out into the world. And watching that pick up while things are so scary outside has been so exciting and refreshing for me, because it just reminds me that like this too shall pass, and we're going to come out the other end of this so much stronger, and things are going to look so much different. And I do think for online businesses, it's going to be a really positive, amazing shift for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I absolutely agree. I when I left stand up and I also had a corporate job in entertainment, I started a gag gift business.
Love it.
That's all done online, and it's a digital product. And then that led me to offering consulting services for small business owners and comedians and podcasters. And when this started happening, I was extremely worried that I would lose all business, and it was very slow for a couple weeks. But it's like balanced out again. And I've actually gained new clients because of it, which I really wasn't expecting. I'm like, oh gosh, like you can kind of get in that mindset, like, oh, I think everybody's being laid off and nobody has, money or resources to do anything. Like everything is going to go to shit. And just to remember, like, that's not the case with everybody. And people are really wanting to like learn how to pivot and, make the most of this time. So I'm so glad that your business is thriving. That's awesome.
I feel like I should knock on wood right now, but
yeah, no, that's all good. No, it's all
yeah.
good. But it makes sense, right? Like we're all kind of being forced to maybe think of like new ways, to make an income. And Kelsey Cook, is a full-time, touring stand-up comedian, and her business is kind of, at a halt right now. And so, we've been talking a lot about that. And Kelsey, do you have
Yeah.
anything to add to this discussion coming from that end of it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, this is not something that you ever foresee happening. And like, I've just been so happy for the last 5 years being like, oh man, I get to do what I love for a living. But you never think about, oh, if something like this happens, what do I do from a financial standpoint? And I do feel so fortunate that we have the podcast, because that's something we're able to do remotely. That is helpful. But yeah, I don't know. I really do like to be business minded with stand up, and I've always sold like merchandise on the road after shows, and I'm still doing that remotely where people can buy t-shirts online through my website. But yeah, I've gone back and forth on like, do I even like, does it look shitty of me to promote that I'm still selling t-shirts if people are struggling financially? Like, you know what I mean? Because somebody said, I can't remember what I posted. Oh, I posted that I was like trying to get through to the unemployment office, and if anybody is looking for ways to like support comedians during this time where we've lost all our work, you can like listen to our specials and listen to our podcasts and stuff. And somebody left a shitty comment like, oh yeah, well, I guess I'm going to support you while I can't make rent or whatever, and it's obviously that guy that was like in the minority of the comments. Everybody else was like very sweet about it. But
Right.
you know what I mean? I've never been in this position before where you don't want to look like you're asking for handouts, but you're also like, you're a business, like you're your own business. So you're like, okay, well, if I can't make money doing the thing that I've been making money at, I have to try and promote some other service of mine. And
Right.
if people can't buy a shirt or don't want a shirt, then like, that's totally fucking fine. Like, of course, that's the same as if there wasn't this quarantine and pandemic happening. It's like, if you don't want it, then that's completely fine. It's just,
Yeah.
we're just all hustling, trying to do what we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like, Kelsey, do you have any advice for kind of people in that position where they're like, what would be like the very first step if somebody is really needing to maybe bring in an income, or they want to start like a new service? Do you have any kind of like hot tips we could
Yeah.
dish out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, gosh, first of all, Kelsey, my heart goes out to you. And my sister is, she's in event planning. So she's definitely
Oh,
feeling that as well, just
yeah.
like
Thank you.
all gone
It's
immediately,
gone. Yeah. You snap your fingers. It's like fucking Thanos and Avengers. It's like literally everything, all our shows were just dust. It's just like, they're gone.
Yeah, seriously. And it's scary also to not know like what is next because I feel like you guys
Yes,
can't really plan because you're like I have no idea when this is going to turn around, what it's going to look like on the other side. It's
totally.
really tough. Yeah. No, I totally feel you and my heart goes out to you and my sister and a lot of other businesses and clients and friends that I've talked to are going through this as well. And from like a mindset standpoint, I will just say when you are out there promoting and selling and continuing to put yourself out there, I think you just have to remember like we have a tendency to go into this place of like I'm asking people for money
Right.
where you're not. That's not where this started from. Like you started probably going up and doing your, what you do on stage and providing that to people because it makes them laugh and because it makes the world a better place,
Yeah.
because it makes you happy and then you become a better person and that ripple effects and that
Yeah.
laughter and that happiness, like you have to remember that always started from a place of true love and passion and service and
Yeah, true.
that's what you're doing, like by you putting your t-shirts out there and others you're continuing to live by what you care about and what you
Yeah.
love. And you should not stop doing that, like at all. If anything, you should find new ways to continue to put that out there, new
Thanks.
creative ways to put that out there, because I think that that is what's needed right now is for everybody to remember that we still need that. We still need it for the
Yeah.
economy, we still
Yeah.
need it for each other. And we still need it as individuals to thrive and to love and to get back to what the real reason we started doing these things. And I think that a lot of people are kind of also being shook because they're asking themselves that question, like, what was the real reason I started doing this in the beginning?
Right.
And we're forced to answer that. But I think that most people are really good and most people have a real deep, meaningful why. And when they come up with that and they're reminded of that, then they can show up in the world tenfold. Like you can go tenfold with your t-shirts because what those are doing is that's reminding people to laugh or reminding people about something you said or, connecting them with something I think that's really, really important and more meaningful than cash and then money, like,
Yeah.
and you are going to get people that are saying negative things and that is actually not going to stop. It may potentially get worse in the next couple of
Mhm.
weeks,
Yeah.
because as we get more information, think people are getting more and more scared and understandably, and
Sure.
the fear is going to creep up, I think, and people are going to act in this very reactive state. And that's, I think, that the issue is that when we get really reactive and we're operating out of fear, we're not being really intentional and proactive and taking a step back and thinking like, how in 6 months, how do I want to remember showing up during this time? Like
Yeah.
what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? And I think when we think about that, we can come at it from a very proactive, intentional place. But I don't know that everyone's going to be able to get to that. So you be prepared for people to operate
Yeah.
out of that reactive fear place, but just remember that that has nothing to do with you and what you're doing, because I think people could probably use more of you and the laughter you provide for people.
Oh, thanks. That's
Amen.
all such great advice, and that is so motivating to kind of like put yourself in that situation of okay, say that by some miracle the quarantine ended tomorrow. What would you have been kicking yourself for like not having done during this time? Where like we do have the gift of time right now where we're at home and can be creating things. And I think a lot of people are maybe not getting into stuff that they could be getting into if they push themselves to. So that's a good way to look at it is like, what would you regret not doing during this time?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Could not agree more with everything Kelsey said. And just like, you're exchanging value for value, right? Like you
Yeah,
bring value to people and money is valuable. And it's kind of like an exchange.
right.
Um, I have Kelsey, do you have any other questions?
No, go
Or any
for it
questions
though.
for Kelsey? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the only one, but I got lots.
Oh no, I love
um,
it. Go for it.
so Kelsey Murphy, so you've worked with a lot of successful people. You're successful. I want to know, like, have you noticed any like commonalities among these people that you've been around, whether it's like mindset or habits or anything like that, and like any kind of common thread that you'd be able to share with us?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a juicy one. Yes, I was just thinking about this the other day, and one common thing that I have noticed is I feel like people that want to have a business or people that want to, and I say business, my business is very small. I have no desire to have this 100-person business. Like I'd like, I like my small team. I like to be able to operate just from my house if I need to, just with my laptop. So
Yeah.
you can have this, when I say business, I feel like I should clarify. But I feel like people that have these thriving businesses recognize that the life of an entrepreneur, it's truly a lifestyle, and it's not just an idea, like a business idea. And what I mean by that is our business ideas are often not going to work. Our business ideas are often going to get rejected and shut down. And our job is to remember why we started that in the first place, like what we loved about it, and then to optimize it, right? And to
Yeah.
pivot and to figure out, okay, so that didn't work. How am I going to shift? And my personality really is not like that. Like I didn't come out of the womb as someone that just like throws stuff against the wall and just can go test things out. Like
Yeah.
I'm not good at that. Like I always hide behind like, I don't want to put a ton of content out there because I'm a perfectionist. Well, being a perfectionist is honestly like I'm just insecure what people are going to think, like if we're
Yeah.
being really truthful about what perfectionism really is we yes have a high standard for ourselves, but at a certain point it crosses over into I'm really terrified of what other people are going to say and think about my work. And
Oh, I'm
so
so
I'm
glad
not
you said that. Oh,
like I'm not quick to throw things out there. Like I'm very nervous about it. So
yeah.
I've had to create these systems and like strategies for me to be able to put stuff out into the world, or for me to be able to try to get new clients, especially when I was first starting, and I think that this happens all throughout your career, because even though in the beginning I applied like this idea of, allowing myself to fail and allowing myself to go out there and learn and be a beginner. All of those things I applied to getting clients. Well, once I filled up my practice with clients, then I decided, oh, how do I scale this? And then I wanted to go do big workshops at corporate places. And so then I had to redo that again and put myself out there and learn and be a beginner and get rejected until I was successful. And same thing with a podcast, right? I had to do the same thing when I started my own podcast. And I'm sure whatever I do in a year or two is going to be the exact same thing. I'm going to have to be a beginner. I'm going to have to learn. I'm going to have to put out some okay content to get it
Yeah.
to be really good content, And I think the entrepreneurs that can embrace that and they can find a way to do that quickly and in an enjoyable way and have fun doing it. I think those are the entrepreneurs that make that a lifestyle. Like that becomes a new lifestyle. Their willingness to try new things, to be really nimble, to pivot, to have fun doing it. Like I don't think that we all come out of the womb like that. Like, I don't think that's natural for a lot of us, but I think the people that teach themselves to do that and find ways to operate like that within their business, they're in it for the long haul. So the short term rejections or the short term speed bumps don't affect them as much, or they find a way for them not to affect them as much. And I feel like consistently with a lot of my successful clients, with Marie, with a lot of people that are out there, as I watch them, as I analyze what makes them successful, I feel like that's a really big part of it.
Mm.
I love all that.
That was a freaking great answer, Kelsey.
Yeah.
That was so. I'm just like ingesting every word you're saying. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah. We talk a
And
lot
I'm
on
just gonna
here.
mic drop and leave before I fuck this up, you guys. So.
Go out on that note. We talk so much because Delaney and Taylor and I are all very much like type A perfectionists, and we've talked a ton on the podcast about not wanting to have any rough drafts. Like we just want it to be perfect the first time, and it's so refreshing to have you like just be that honest that the perfectionism stems for so many people from like not wanting people to not like what you put out.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
absolutely. Fear of what people think. My next question for you is, when it comes to your business, what have you felt like the three biggest things that you've done or implemented? Like the three best things you've done for your personal business, whether it's social media or an email list or, video content or, reaching out to people individually, like the three things that have kind of moved you forward the most.
Okay. Oh, good question. All right. So I would say starting my podcast for sure comes to top of mind. And I think that for a couple of reasons, one has been a great vehicle for me to create consistent content with because man, I love writing. I love writing, but it will take me like 19 hours to get like one post out there because I am just like, like I love writing, but I haven't dedicated a lot of time and effort to the craft. And so if I did, I'm sure I could get to a place where I was more comfortable with what I was putting out there or just more excited with the content I was putting out there. But writing just ended up taking me a really long time. So in the beginning, when I was blogging and just writing to my email list, like, oh man, like it was so hard to be consistent because I couldn't find like 8 hours a week to just write one email.
Mm.
So when I came up with podcasting, as much as I was uncomfortable with it in the beginning and as much as I was like I'm a rambler and I don't have any concise thoughts and like I like this is a terrible idea for me, I enjoyed it. And so because I enjoyed it and because I could do it a lot faster, um I found myself creating more consistently. And obviously as you create more consistently, you get more practice, and as you get more practice, you get better and better and better. And I found my voice a little bit more, and I started being a little bit more raw and vulnerable. And what that did was it so quickly attracted my audience, and it so quickly repelled my
Yeah.
non-audience.
Yeah.
But it was that for me was almost like like I am like in someone's ear as they're walking to work. And they had so
Yeah.
much more access to me and my voice. Like they had basically a taste of what it would be like if we were sitting down chatting, having a conversation. So for me, that bridged the gap and made kind of like almost a sales cycle so much shorter because they had so much more content to binge. So by the time they reached out and connected with me, or by the time I put a product out there, they were so ready to buy it because they had already felt so connected and close to me. And what I'm noticing, which is really interesting, I just did this big round of I work with Marie inside of B School, but I'm also a B School affiliate, right? So when
Cool.
people go and they can purchase B School through me, and then I do like a whole mastermind for that group of people.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, and I've been doing it for a couple years, and this year it was really big, and the people are amazing. But I've noticed the people in this group are so specific, and I like love them all. Like like every time I jump on a little call and I get to know them a little bit more, I will get off the call and I'll look at my husband and I'll be like, dang, I like really like these people. Like I want to
Aw.
hang out with all them. Like they're so awesome. Like I can't believe it. And for the first few calls, I was like, I can't believe I got so lucky. And then I realized actually what you're putting out there on your podcast is so clearly your brand. It's so clearly who you are, and you are attracting the type of people that are going to really resonate with that. So I'm talking about things that I care about, that I fear, that I want more of, that I believe in. I'm sharing all these things on the podcast, and so people that have these similar values and also don't mind me dropping an F-bomb here and there and can find the humor when I'm talking about my child latched onto my boob, and like
Right.
people that appreciate those things, like all of a sudden it just creates such a clarity in who's purchasing my product, and I end up loving those people, and those people end up being 10 times happier than anyone else, right? So
Mm, mhm.
that for me, like from a financial standpoint, the podcast, recognizing the role that the podcast has played in my business has been so huge. So I feel like
Awesome.
that's one thing, but I feel like that's
Yeah.
like a really long answer, but I'm happy to tell you all my other things.
Yeah,
Have you shared a quote yet? A favorite quote yet?
not
I have
yet.
not.
I would love to hear that real quick before we forget to
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah. I've got a Joan Rivers one that I always love. It's listen, I wish I could tell you it gets better, but it doesn't get better, you get better.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
I
what a
know, don't you
great
love
quote.
That is great.
I know, right? I feel like people tend to think I'm like this super like optimistic, like kind of maybe not two woos, but one woo kind of life coachy person. And I'm like always like, oh, if you got to know me, like you would know that like when people come to the table, I'm like, listen, folks, it's not getting any better. Like
Yeah.
this shit is gonna be what it is. Like, but
Yeah,
you have so much dang control. Like, let's step up to the plate and let's work on that. And then that
right.
will ripple effect into everything, you know?
Oh, I love that.
Hmm. Absolutely. Did you want to share a couple more things, Kelsey, about like things that have kind of moved the needle for you in your business, or would you prefer we kind of move on to the next thing?
Totally up to you guys, whatever you want. I'm
Okay.
I'm here for your taking.
Yeah, I would love to hear a couple more. It's what you said about the podcast is amazing. I think that's how we kind of feel about our listeners too. When we like meet our listeners, we're like, oh my God, we'd be friends with these people because
Yeah.
we're, this is us on the show. Like this is who we are in real life. And so we attract people, who are attracted to us in that way. And it's always like we're meeting family. It's such a crazy, cool experience.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
best.
So anything else you'd like to share that's kind of helped propel you forward would be awesome.
Yeah. I'll give one more.
Okay.
I definitely think consistently getting around people that are living a life that you want to emulate. And if you can find someone that's living a professional life and a personal life that you want to emulate, I feel like you've hit the jackpot and you
Oh
do
yeah.
everything you can to be around them and to meet and be around all of the people they're surrounding themselves with, you know?
Yeah.
Um, because it's one thing if you're around someone that's like running the business you want, but then, their personal life is shit. And you're like, well,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm willing for that trade off, like, or vice
Yeah.
versa, someone that has this like epic personal life, but they're like, they're making peanuts. And you're like, that's okay. But I
Yeah.
really would like both, like, is
Yeah.
that
Right.
possible? And I feel like for a couple reasons, but one, I think that our brains and our bodies and everything, we need to see living proof. Like we need to see that proof and it needs to be reiterated in our brain and in our whole hearts and souls, like over and over and over again. So it's like you have to talk to that person consistently. You have to hear what they're doing on a daily basis. And so I think finding those people, like finding and I hold back kind of from calling them mentors because I feel like that feels very aggressive and like you're
Mm,
gonna like go to someone and like very formally say, "Would you like to be my mentor?"
right.
But I feel like I have like 30 mentors, like, and they are different mentors and different, maybe they're kind of different industries, but they're all running a business that I love and that I would love to have and I admire and I can learn something from. And then they also have these amazing personal lives and values. And finding a way to consistently be around those people has been so life-changing and game-changing for me. I mean, I remember someone reached out to me. I don't know if you guys know Kathy Heller at all.
Yes,
We
she's
had
been on
Do
the
Kathy on
you?
the
show.
podcast.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Love Kath. So I
Yeah.
love Kathy. And like maybe like a year or two ago, we were both on each other's podcasts. And by the time, we did a little back recording. And by the time we were done, she was like, okay, we need to be best friends. And like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I don't know how we don't know each other, but I am going to start like a little mastermind and I want to start and just get like 3 or 4 women together that are all building their businesses. We're all kind of at the same levels, but we're doing different things. And I want
Yeah.
us just to come together once a month. And I was like, this sounds amazing. She's like, yeah, cool. So you'll drive up to LA once a month. And I was like, ooh, because I'm in San Diego. That's like a solid
Oh
3-hour
yeah.
drive minimum,
Without
like, and I,
traffic.
oh yeah. And I was like, dude, like I got a toddler and,
Yeah.
but I remember just like thinking about it and thinking like you, Kelsey, you've always said it's so important when you find people that you really like personally and you really admire professionally, like that you need to go be around them consistently. And so I said yes, and I like sacked up and I drove to LA once a month, and I met with her and a couple other incredible women. And honestly, it's been life changing, like game
Yeah.
changing to be around those kinds of people, like so special, and also very financially rewarding, like because you're
Yeah.
learning from them, and that you speed up that cycle, you speed it up, so you all of a sudden the learning curve is so much shorter, and you're also making like family friends at the same time, so that
Yeah.
to me, like I just feel like people say that's a nice to have, and I feel like if that's not like something you're doing consistently, it needs to be the first thing on your to-do list on Monday morning. Find that group and go out and proactively find that group, test different groups out. Like that to me is something that people just kind of toss away as a nice to have. And I think that that has to be prioritized as like a key pillar to your business.
Oh,
Fuck yeah.
absolutely. 1,000%. I feel that way being surrounded by Kelsey Cook and our other wonderful co-host who couldn't be on this episode, Taylor Tomlinson. They've been doing what they love for how long have you been a full-time comic, Kels?
I've been
Or
doing stand-up for over 10 years and then full-time for 5 years.
for 5 years, and I think Taylor's pretty similar. And so
Yeah.
for the last several years I've been around them, like I wasn't always doing what I love. I was stuck in a corporate job and doing like stand up on the side, and I didn't want to do any of it. And being able to be around people consistently, Kelsey and Taylor, like at least weekly or bi-weekly, that were making their dream happen and like making a living doing something they loved was so incredibly inspiring. And it was just a good constant reminder that like, okay, this stuff is possible. It's not going to be easy, but it is possible. But I honestly don't think I would have been able to make the jump to leave my day job to basically do my business full time if I didn't have that constant reminder in front of me of Taylor and Kelsey, two of my, best friends who are also making a full-time living doing something that they love, and a very small percentage of people do make a full-time living off of it. So it's a very, very impressive career choice, and it's like I have two people that are doing it. So it's like I really don't think without that support system I would have been able to really make the jump, because I don't think I have a whole lot of people other than them who are really doing what they love for a living. And yeah, I don't know. So I
Aw, thanks,
totally,
Del.
yeah, like I totally agree with that. I think that's such amazing advice, and I've really benefited from that myself. So I could not
That's
agree with you
amazing.
more. Yeah.
And that's amazing that you have that, and you can hear the love in your voice and how it's affected, like your not just your business but your life. And I think that
Mhm.
that's at the end of the day what it's all about.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have one more question. One more question for you, Kelsey. And obviously, if Kelsey Cook has any other questions too, but
No, all good, girl.
what is something in your career or within your business that um, could have been like labeled as a failure to other people, like if you had just quit, but was actually a learning experience for you that you kind of used to like as leverage to kind of push you forward? Is there like a certain instance or moment in your career where like you could have easily given up, and instead you kind of pushed through and you made it happen, and it ended up being like a really great thing that happened for you?
Oh my gosh, I'm like there's about 7 million. So let me think about the ones that popped in my head first. Yes. Oh my gosh. The things that I feel like I remember the most are usually in the beginning of my business. because I feel like you kind of like get some tougher skin as you get, like, and you learn a little bit more, and you start to get, you start to get your bearings a little bit more as you get into your business. But
Yeah.
in the beginning, I remember I was trying to kind of figure out what kind of coach I wanted to be. I knew I loved the idea of life coaching in the sense that I loved human psychology. I hated the term life coach, and I was coming off of being like, a fancy pants account director for, Nintendo and Elizabeth Arden and all these things. And so then, like I was going to go from that and saying that at the bars and being very well respected to be like saying, I'm a life coach. I was like,
Yeah.
oh God, like I can't even say it out loud. So I remember I was like trying to figure out like, what does that mean? Like what kind of specialty could I lean into? And I got a ton of certifications, and I started dabbling in different kinds of coaching. So I would do relationship coaching, and I would do like I coached people that were single. I coached people that were getting divorced. I coached people that were like retiring. Like I coached people that were, trying to manage maternity leave. And so I just coached a myriad of different people, which is what you're supposed to do in the beginning, right? Like you're supposed to figure out what is your sweet spot, the place that you
Right.
love and the place that you can really create the best results for other people. And so I remember like dabbling in those. And let me just tell you, I'm not a good divorce coach. And I am not the best relationship coach. And contrary to what I thought, I'm a specific kind of coach with a specific kind of personality and brand. And a lot of times when you're dealing with things like divorce or retirement, these big, huge life shifts, they require a different kind of personality, like a different kind of person to show up for those and create the space that's needed. And honestly, most of the time they require a licensed therapist. So
Right.
for me
Yeah.
to like kind of dabble in that world, and it wasn't a huge shutdown. It wasn't like this catastrophe, but it felt like it for me because it felt like I literally had just quit a very, very successful job. And it's like I had decided I was going to be a coach. And then I spent so much time and energy and effort creating a website and going in and finding these clients, and then starting to coach them and deciding what kind of coaching package I was going to have and how much was I going to charge them and what would my logo look like, to all that build up to be like, yeah, you actually suck at this. Like
Mm.
you're actually not that good at it. And that was just like, it was so like internally devastating. And it doesn't feel maybe like that big of a deal now, but I remember being crushed when
Mm.
when I started. And it wasn't like, oh, like I had this horrible session. It was just like I could just tell session after session, like I was only getting so far with people. I wasn't operating at my best, and I didn't feel like I was getting people the results that I really wanted. I want people to get off coaching calls with me and be like, "Holy bananas, that was worth like $5 million." Like,
Right.
Yeah.
and that is not how people were feeling when they were getting off the coaching calls with me. And so I think just having that kind of a thing happen so early on was like my first my first foray into that kind of lifestyle that I was talking about earlier, and deciding like, are you in this for the long haul or are you just in it for short term? Because if you're in it for short term, I would be sad too. Like I would go have a whiskey and be like, man, that sucks. Like this little idea of having a business isn't going to work for you. But if you're in it for the long haul, then you take it as a learning, like you kind of just take it on your chin and you say, okay, like where do we pivot from here? Where do we go next? What do we learn? And I wasn't very good at that at the time. It was very much like in my brain, let's go have whiskey. And like, you're not cut out to be an entrepreneur, where I evolved into the place of, okay, like we learned a lot from this. Like, what do you want to try next?
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when that was going on, and you tried, coaching people with relationships and divorce and all that stuff, what was the next move that you made when you realized, okay, this is not really connecting for me? What else is next? Like, what was that next thing? Do you remember?
Well, I definitely took a beat. Like I took a step back and I had to kind of go dig deep and like ask myself like, what is the reason you're doing this? Like why do you want to be a coach? Like why coaching? Maybe it's not coaching, Kelsey. Like maybe it's something else. And when I took a step back, I really could like confirm like it is coaching for me. Like coaching for me, I love helping and empowering people to move forward and navigate something and like shock themselves with how much more they can achieve. And so from a human psychology standpoint, coaching really was a big, big, big piece of that. And when I think about that, even when I say it now, I feel it in my whole gut. Like I love it. I love
Oh,
those
that's
experience.
awesome.
Yeah, like that is what lights me up, you know? So I truly feel that. And so I had to just take a step back and go back to the roots of like, that's it. So don't lose faith in your ability to coach people. Stick with that. Just look at what are other possible avenues. So, that's when I started looking at like, could you coach people online? Like, and I went back to the basics, right? I was like, what are you most familiar with? Like, what is something you've gotten people results in? And I knew I had gotten people results in either finding a job that they loved like a million times more or leaving their job to start something new. And so I went into career transition coaching and I was good at it and I did it well and I created a course around it because when you're really good at something like you usually have a couple pillars of things that you can lean into and I had created a course that did really well and then a lot of those folks and those that audience that I was working with, they kind of graduated into this place of all starting their businesses, all leaving their corporate job and starting businesses. And so and then they looked to me and said, how did you do it? And so then I started coaching them and I figured out I was even better at that. And so that's where I really leaned into. And then it kind of, tweaked and evolved from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow,
Awesome.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And I think it's so important to and do you remember what length of time that was, Kelsey, where you were coaching, people and the things that weren't really connecting with you? Like how long of a period that was?
It was pretty short, to be honest. It
Yeah.
was, I would say, that time period probably was only like maybe 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But then, even then, I would say the whole next year was still a bit of a learning curve, the whole next
Right.
year, but it was more in my wheelhouse. Like I was
Yeah.
working with people on the types of things I wanted to. I spent some time tiptoeing between really leaning into life coaching and really leaning into business coaching. And
Mhm.
now I'm definitely in the business coach world, but I have this kind of like underlying life coach background. So I have a tendency to attract someone that likes that kind of stuff, someone that like
Right.
has a love for like mindset and human psychology and the way that that's playing a role in their business. And we don't talk about that a ton in my coaching anymore. But it just naturally comes up and the type of person that believes in that and appreciates that is just the type of person that I tend to connect with even though 95% of our conversation is all around like strategic business.
Right.
You still can tell that you're each other's types of people.
Yeah. I love hearing that because so many people, just depending on how they feel kind of about themselves or what they're doing, is a lot of people may have quit at that time, at that 4 to 6 week range. They'd be like, you know what, this is not my thing. Forget it. The dream is over, right? And it's like I think a lot of people do that, and the commonality I see is like, yeah, people just kind of they keep going, they figure out a way around it, and and now you have this amazing business because you didn't give up. You took a step back and kind of really analyzed what you wanted, and I think that's just so important for people to hear right now, especially that if you feel like if you feel like giving up, there's usually something else you haven't tried yet, and if it's something that you really want to do, it's so important to just keep trucking along, keep trying.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Kelsey Cook, do you have any any other questions for Kelsey?
No, no, I'm all good, but just thank you so much, Kelsey, for giving us your time and all of your wisdom. You were a fantastic guest.
Yeah, you were seriously amazing. And then please plug where people can find you and your podcast and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me on and for doing what you're doing. I feel like um God, the world just really needs everything that you guys are putting out there right now, and the lightness and the laughter and the humor. I can't tell you how important I think that is at this time right now. So thank you guys so much. Um, and then, yeah, if people want to connect with me, they can come on over to kelseymurphy.com or follow me on Instagram at Kelsey Murphy. I will tell people I am a total introvert. So if you catch me on the street, I may, like hide my face. But if you if you pop on into my DMs, oh, I'll be a chatty Cathy. So if you, let me know if you hear me from this podcast or you've connected in some way or another from something that we've all talked about, and you're one of our people, then come say hi to me and pop into my DMs. I'd love to like connect more personally with people.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and have a good rest of the day.
Yeah,
Thank you guys so
thanks.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Man, loved having her on. She was great.
Yeah, she was awesome.
Yeah, I felt like you were getting a nice, juicy business boner talking to her.
I know. I was, and I was like, oh God, I have so many questions, but I want to be a creep.
Yeah, she was great. Okay, so I have a defuck, and I don't know if anybody else in the country is experiencing the same defuck, particularly in California, but I have not been able to get through to the unemployment offices through the phone, and I've been calling now every day for like 2.5 weeks.
Oh my God.
Maybe more than that. Because everybody says, okay, so file for unemployment online, and they have opened it now to people like in my position, like performing artists whose shows have been canceled. We are now eligible for unemployment. But when you go to file online, at least for California, it asks you maybe like 8 questions up top to make sure that you can file online. And one of the questions is, have you worked outside of the state in the last 18 months? And so, of course, my answer is yes. It's like all I do is mostly work outside of the state traveling. And so because of that, then I'm not eligible to file online. It has to be either over the phone or by fax, which is crazy to me that fax even still exists because
I don't think people use fax anymore.
well, yeah, I mean, and anytime I have tried to send a fax, something goes wrong. Either the number is not dialed correctly and it doesn't go through, or it goes through, but the place I'm trying to fax it to is receiving thousands of them, and it takes like 5 separate times faxing it for them to actually find the piece of paper or whatever. It's just like fax is a fucking nightmare, and also the unemployment thing you would have to fill out is like 13 pages long, something crazy. It's just so fax is like so not the route you want to take with something like this, especially when you're trying to get income quickly. But I don't fully understand. I think maybe they are short staffed. Obviously, this is such a crisis time for them, but they are only open on the phones 8 a.m. to noon, Monday through Friday.
Oh shit. Yeah.
There's only a 4-hour window, and I tried calling at 8 a.m. on the dot, and even right at 8 a.m., you already get a voice message that says, "Thank you for calling. We're experiencing higher than normal call volumes. Please try again later," and it hangs up on you.
Oh shit. Oh, you can't even like be on hold?
No, it hangs up on you.
Oh no. Oh, you almost need to like outsource that job for somebody to just keep calling back for 4 hours every Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, like what the fuck are people doing?
I don't know, but that's the
Oh,
scary
that
thing is like every
sucks.
day that goes by without me getting through, I don't have money coming in.
Right. Right. And I don't even know how unemployment works. I don't know if they do they like backdate it when you
I
were,
don't
you know what
know.
I mean? Like I have no
I don't know. I haven't been in this position
experience.
before, but it's just it's very frustrating. Like we just did, everything is figure outable,
Right.
and I'm trying to keep a positive attitude
Yeah.
and be like, okay, if I cannot get through, I can fax, but every fiber of my being is like, I don't want to do that route.
Right. Well, I mean, what's even open for you to fax? Is
I
freaking
don't
Kinko
know.
still taking customers?
I
Like,
don't
isn't everything
know.
shut down?
Exactly. Like, yeah, there's a little business room at my apartment complex, and that's closed.
Right. Right. It's almost like you'd have to go into an essential business and be like, "Hey, can I borrow your fax machine for a hot sec?" Like, I
Yeah.
really don't know. Like, so you can't like scan it and email them. It has to be a
No,
fax.
it has to be a fax.
What the fuck, man? You guys, if anybody has any advice for Kelsey in this
Please.
situation, or if like you know somebody who works for unemployment or something in California, maybe you can like start a Facebook thread and like tag her in it so she can get help. Honestly, like our listeners are so incredibly helpful and generous with their time with stuff like this. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody has some really good advice for you or knows somebody who might work there and or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Ugh. Yeah,
Oh
fucking
my god.
help. Someone help me. I
Yeah.
don't know how to do this. I don't know how
Oh
to get through.
man. Oh man. Yeah. You guys, that's a lot. I guess let's see my segment. I guess I have a good shit that started because of a defuck.
Oh, great.
I can't remember. Did I share on the podcast or on Patreon that Maverick ate a condom?
Yes, you did.
Oh god, I don't
Yes,
even
you
know.
did.
I don't know if that was on Patreon or another, public episode, but
That was a public episode.
okay, so that happened, and I'm proud to say we got our new trash can in that has the lid. It's working very well. Maverick cannot break into it. It's Maverick proof, and so that's my good shit moment. Is we got that trash can. Our trash is on lockdown, just like we are, and nobody is getting through that shit. Yeah,
Oh my God.
that just was like, oh my god. I mean, just the greatest cherry on top of already a fucking stressful situation.
Unbelievable. I mean, when it rains, it pours, I guess, huh?
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? It is comforting to know that this has happened to other people. Somebody actually messaged me about this happening a while back, but they didn't have like their dog was able to like pass the condom. So
Oh
like
God.
they didn't realize he had even swallowed one until he
Oh,
really pooped it out. And I'm like, wow, that would be an interesting realization too. So I guess either way,
wow.
whatever end it's coming out of, it's just protect your trash cans is all I can say. I really wish that I would have gotten these are trash cans I have been wanting for a very long time. And I just kind of like, we'll get to it. And obviously when something like that happens, it becomes a priority, the
Yeah.
priority. So
Yeah.
I really wish I just would have gotten them when I wanted to, but instead, Maverick had to go swallow a condom. And then it became very apparent what needed to happen.
Wow.
So
That
just
has
let
to
me.
be a big dog that's able to poop a condom because I'm
I know,
picturing little
right?
Maverick. I mean, that's his whole stomach, depending on the size of the condom, right?
Oh my god, I know. What a mess. I know. You guys, please let me be your warning story, okay? Don't let this happen to you.
No.
I feel like I could be a great sponsor for secure trash cans right now. I feel like if anybody has an in right, that would be my jam right now.
Oh,
A
yes.
perfect testimonial. But
Oh, yeah.
just let that be a warning for anybody, any dog owners, any pet owners. Get your fucking trash on lockdown, okay?
Get a lid on it. I mean, between
Yeah.
between your dog eating a condom and my cat getting my used bikini wax strip stuck to his
Yeah.
dog, we
Right.
are really like, hey, garbage cans. If you need
Oh.
somebody, we're your duo.
Oh yeah. Seriously, you guys. I mean, come on. That's a no-brainer. Listen, we can use a sponsor for that right
Yeah,
now, like times are uncertain. We'll
yeah,
fucking blast that shit out.
yeah. Do not underestimate your pet's ability to get into a trash can and be as disgusting as possible.
Yeah, yeah, they are very interesting creatures. Oh man, but
Oh,
yeah, that's it for me. That's my good shit moment. Got that
fuck,
trash can, baby.
fuck yeah. Thank you guys as always for listening. Spread the word. If you got a friend who's looking for some a new podcast to get into to find some comfort during this hard time and pass the time, let them know. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Join Patreon. all the things. Just,
yeah, and we do have an iTunes review this episode.
oh yeah, please read it.
Yeah, this is from, is that the name of it? Cries with an asterisk?
I don't know. That might be the title. I think that might be the title of it.
That's very funny if that is. Okay, it says, love ya. I hear you every week at work, driving home, or when I attempt to work out. Thank you for making me laugh every time and for being you. Sending you love and a virtual hug from Dallas, Texas, especially in times like today. Stay safe, healthy, and funny. Oh, thank you so much.
Sweet. Thank you.
That's just the nicest thing. And thank you guys for really leaving reviews. It really helps the show so much. And it only takes a couple seconds if you want to do that. And make sure you guys watch Kelsey's set on Lily Sing. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love you so much. And yeah, I have a few more spots left for my group coaching program. And I really want to help you guys if you're feeling stressed out right now, and going to do whatever I can to put a nice group together for support and give you guys resources and all that good stuff. So feel free to email my assistant.
Sweet.
Okay.
All right. Stay safe out there, guys.
Love ya. Bye.
Love you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening to Self-Helpless. We love you guys so much. There are a few different ways you can support our show. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. It really helps us move up the charts. You can also tell a friend about the show, post it on social media, and you can join our Patreon. It's where you can get bonus episodes from us and lots of really fun content and ways to interact with the show. That's at patreon.com/selfhelpless. And if you go to selfhelplesspodcast.com, that's where you can get links to all of our individual stuff. Delaney, where can people find you?
You can find me at DelaneyFisher.com. You can find the online courses there, one-on-one creative consulting, watch my comedy special, and find Dicks by Delaney there.
Perfect. Tay, where can people find you?
You can find me on ttomcomedy.com for tour dates and links to everything else social media-wise. I am at Taylor Tomlinson on Twitter and Instagram.
Perfect. You guys can find me at kelseycook.com for all my tour dates. My Instagram is at kelseycookcomedy. Twitter is at kelseycook. Please be sure to watch my foosball web series on YouTube called Wrists of Fury. I've had Delaney and Taylor on together. It was such a fun episode. And you can download and buy my album Savor It on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you find comedy albums. We also want to give a shout out to our amazing producer, Lauren Mahoney, and our amazing editor, Emma Erdbrink. We love you guys, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.